Good morning, everybody. Stu Smith here, going live. Hope you guys are well. Today, it is Monday, so that means it is Never Quit Mindset Monday. And today, we're going to feature a story that we all know, or at least the person we all know. You may not know his never quit story, Walt Disney. And you're familiar with him, I'm sure. And he has had quite a life. He was born in 1901. So, like many people of that era, um, not a lot of wealth. Um, you would call it typical hardships of that era, I would say, with um, money was tight, family moved from job to job trying to find a steady income, and he developed a love for drawing, and that was his passion. He was never really uh what's a good word for it? Supported in that endeavor because nobody really drew a lot for a living back then. You actually worked for your food or grew your food, and that's how things were. I mean, the Industrial Revolution was starting to take off too, so there were other jobs where people got paid, but it was slim pickings. And he knew it, and he was a young guy, 1901, so this is probably like 1920. So 19, 20-year-old kid gets a job at a newspaper in Kansas City. Not a lot going on in Kansas City at the time, um, but he was fired from his first job as a an assistant editor, and the editor said he lacked imagination and had no good ideas. So that was his first little sting in the world, other than just growing up hard, and probably created some resilience along the way just by living hard and lacking for a lot of things that people with wealth had. But he didn't let that deter him. He was like, screw that. I'm going to prove them wrong. And he did. He kind of used that criticism as motivation and moved on, but it was still wasn't uphill all the way for him. He had some definitely valleys throughout the way where he started a studio in Kansas City, and before he actually got going, he did create some animations, and people weren't into his animations very much. Short cartoons. You might remember his first Mickey Mouse cartoon, Steamboat Willie was his little cartoon. So what he did is he decided, instead of just making cartoons, which were pretty common in the time of, you know, movies turning into motion, um, and he created a character in Mickey Mouse who also played, he was like an actor that played other characters, which was kind of revolutionary in the time. And you can see some of his early work. This Mickey Mouse played Steamboat Willie in the Steamboat Willie cartoon. He played, other characters throughout the time as a wizard, or he played as yeah, I'm losing track of all the different things he played. But anyway, you get the drift. He created this actor in Mickey Mouse. But that even wasn't then in Kansas City. He got basically bankrupt, lost all his money, and decided, you know what? Screw it. I'm moving west and going to Hollywood. And with his last $4 to his name, he teamed up with his brother who was battling an illness. Somehow they put together some cash to create another studio out in Hollywood, and that is where um, Mickey Mouse was created. Along the way, he had another character that he created that was stolen by another um, producer, and that stung a bit as well. He kind of hit rock bottom with that theft, but it brought on new energy to create Mickey Mouse. So even after Mickey Mouse's success, there wasn't much of an industry of cartoons, um, but he created a full-length feature film that we all know called Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and many called it Disney's folly because he was spending all this money to produce this cartoon. And sure enough, massive hit, changed the world of animation forever. And now we know Walt Disney as the guy who created all these characters, uh, created the first kind of Disney character themed park in Disneyland. And really, the rest is history. I mean, I can't tell you, you know, as a kid, how many cartoons I watch made by Disney. And then the next generation of my kids, I can't tell you how many cartoons I watched with them of Snow White and the Little Mermaid and you name it. Now they own Star Wars, and I just heard today on the news that Taylor Swift is going to be having a her entourage of followers will be probably buying the Disney package on their streaming platform to be able to get access to her story that's coming out of her latest album release, I guess. So they're still moving. I mean, Walt is long gone, but his legacy remains, and that is largely because of his never quit attitude and his ability to take failure, which there were many, and turn it into a new course of action. And I think that is how I'm going to sum up his life is with all the failures he had, he learned from them. He didn't get devastated by them, and he turned it around and either kept on course or veered another course because he goes, that didn't work. Let's go this way. And you know, there he is, killing it. So yeah, last paragraph he says, vital part of his success is that he was dismissed and doubted and defeated many times, but he never let go of his dream. With his perseverance and imagination, he proved a lot of people wrong that said he didn't have any imagination, and he turned that adversity into success. And we all are better off from that legacy. All right, so that's my little intro to this live Q&A session. I like to do these with on Mondays. We call them our Never Quit Mindset Monday, and you can learn a lot from other people's stories, especially when it's a never quit story like that. And a lot of people, might dismiss a story about Walt Disney, but it doesn't come easy when you try to build something. There's always success and failures are intertwined together. And the sooner you learn to take that failure and learn from it and move on, same course or change course because of it, because you got smarter, that's when you start creating the never quit mindset. So, just like in this program here or in the course online at Stu Smith Fitness, there is a chapter 5, failing is a learning experience. Boop, right over here. And it is. A lot more to that story in there. If you're interested in reading about that, check it out. It's first book right when you go up to StuSmithFitness.com. All right. So sometimes these turn into people sharing a never quit story of their own, or they just start asking questions because this is a live Q&A. And if you don't have anything related to what I just spoke about, that's okay. You can ask the question because that's what I'm here for. Um, Looks like David asks, do you recommend completing your pool workouts with swim goggles or a dive mask? Huh. Depends. I mean, if you're preparing for a spec ops journey, there's two things you're going to need to learn. You're going to need to be able to swim with a mask covering your nose, and you're going to need to know how to be in the water without a mask or goggles. So, my advice is there's three options. There's goggles, there's a mask, or there's nothing. You need to kind of play around with all of them because here's where no goggles are required or no mask. Underwater swim, 50-meter underwater swim is not done with a mask or goggles. The drown proofing test is done without a mask or goggles. Life saving, which not a whole lot of underwater stuff, um, but you don't have mask or goggles. If you did, the guy would probably knock it off of you anyway. Same with pool comp. Pool comp, even though you're on scuba, first thing that occurs is you're going to lose your mask. So you got to do all these skills and procedures without a mask or goggles. The things that you will have masks on with or any of the swims. So, you know, that's what I would do. I would focus, or any of the dives, you'll have a mask on. But I would do this. I would play around with all three options because you got to get used to it. Maybe start off your drown proofing practice with goggles so you get used to water, having to prevent water from coming in and out of your nose. That's what I would do. So all three is how you practice preparing. If you got a long swim, do it with a mask. If you have short swims and pool skills, do it with goggles at first. Evolve and be able to do it without goggles altogether, because all three will be involved. I took your advice, ran a 4 mile timed run every week for 5 weeks. Went from 29s to the 27:53. Only problem is I still a gut check. Any advice? I mean, sometimes running 4 miles is going to be a gut check. I mean, it was for me every week. So there's going to be something when you go through training that is a gut check. Period. Anytime we ran, I had to dig a little bit deeper, take it a little bit more seriously, and focus on higher levels of performance than I did going into a swim. Like I didn't have butterflies going into a swim. I didn't have butterflies doing PTs, or an obstacle course. I was excited to do them, but it wasn't something that I knew I had to bring my A game for in order to do well. I'm not talking about barely passing and failing, but if you're under 28 and it's a gut check, keep doing it. And I promise you, the 28 minutes, sub 28 minutes will get easier. It just takes a little bit of time. If you want, you can throw in some more intervals, on your interval day, throw in a long, slow distance run, LSD type run, zone two, whatever you want to call it. Throw that in there, work on that aerobic engine. Do some bricks. This is something I like to do because it just doubles your cardio with, half the impact. So when you do a 4 mile time run, right before it, go to a 20-minute bike ride, then do a 4 mile timed run, just a couple of times, for a couple of weeks. Then take out the bike and do a 4 mile time like you normally would with fresh legs and see how you do. You may be surprised at how that bike can really help you with your conditioning. In fact, I wrote an article and it's over here on Stu Smith Fitness in the article section. If you go into, let me find that. I think it's on a, if you scroll through it, it's going to be on page 2 of the article section. Nope, I take that back. Page 3 of the article section. And it's called the Hickson Protocol, bricks and other VO2 max increasers with half the impact. Highly recommend checking this out. In fact, I'm going to put this over here in the comments section at YouTube, and I'll put it over here in the comment section at Instagram. And what you'll see there is the last section of that hyperlink is the Hickson Protocol, bricks and other VO2 max increasers, half the impact. That's the title. So it's hard to, obviously, you can't click a link over there on Instagram, but if you're on a computer, you can cut and paste it. If you're on a phone, you can't, but just Google it and put the Hickson Protocol, bricks and other VO2 max increasers, Stu Smith in the Google machine, and it'll pop out. Or you just go to Stu Smith Fitness and scroll down to the 3rd page and you'll see this article. In your personal opinion, what do you believe is the best age to go into the pipeline for maximum durability, recovery, maturity, etc.? Great question. You know what? I'm going to say 22 to 25. And there's a reason why I say that. I know there are 18-year-olds making it through every class, but that number is a small percentage of what started with that class. A lot of the attrition, I'm speaking specifically at Buds. I mean, you may have 100 out of 150 teenagers when you start, and then you might have less than 5 when you finish. That's brutal. You can't look at it and say, wow, 5 people, 5 18-year-olds graduated Buds. It must be a Buds. Buds must be perfect for teenagers. Well, no, because 95 didn't make it. Those 18-year-olds are that make it through Buds are special, very special, mature, probably finished growing. So they're not still battling growing bones and stretching tendons at the same time as trying to get through Buds. So that's the physical and mental maturity part of it that is required. If you're somewhere between 22 and 25, you probably got some life experiences under your belt. You probably left home before, and you're not going to be homesick and talking about the girl you took to prom, in conversations when you're going to Buds. You're 5 years past that. Probably finished some other stuff besides just graduating college and playing high school sports. You might even, you might have finished college and not just graduated high school and high school sports, or you've been working full time and live on your own. And there's a whole different side to 18 to 22. You're a different person, and people don't believe me. And a lot of imposter syndrome occurs when that 18-year-old kid who just finished high school is there at Buds and 6 months after high school, and he looks to the left and right and he sees grown ass men tatted up, D1 athletes, people have been working as a firefighter, for construction worker for 5-6 years. Now they're there and they're like, what am I doing? I can't even go out to drink with these guys. Not that you want to drink too much anyway, but you get what I'm talking about. So anyway, my personal recommendation, best age is 22 to 25. Now, that doesn't mean if you're 25 to 30, you don't have a chance. I'm just saying recovery is better at 25 and under. Maturity is better at 22 and above. Durability is better whenever you're finished growing, and that's kind of variable with just you personally. Some 18-year-olds aren't finished growing yet. So I think my son grew another inch at 21. So people are still growing. So and that means a lot with durability. Your time and training means a lot with durability as well. I could go on for quite some time with this one, but um, yeah, the short answer is 22 to 25. Wetzel family says it sounds like at the academy they will have a PST followed by the combine. Is there a combine specific training program in the works? I already have it done. I just gave it to the Naval Academy kids. Um, if you're a Naval Academy midshipman and you want it, just ask for it. It's free. Um, but yeah, the combine is basically the human performance test. If you look up, in fact, if you read this, this is the PST plus, doesn't say it, but there's an extra 4 weeks in here called for the HPT, which stands for Human Performance Test. You can kind of see it right there, the Human Performance Test. And what is the Human Performance Test, you ask? Let me tell you. 25-pound pull-up, bodyweight bench press, max reps, trap bar deadlift, 1 rep max. I think they're doing 3 rep max for this combine, though. Standing long jump. There's a pro agility test, but they took it out. It's not part of the combine. There is a 300-yard shuttle run. There's a 3-mile run, which I think they changed to a 4-mile run. And there's an 800-meter swim, but they're not doing it because they're using the PST as their swim. So that's the changes that they've taken. They've taken the PST and they're doing it as like they always do. And they are taking the human performance test and changing a few things, took a few things out. As far as training for it, it's not that hard. Everything's right there. But I made a specific one for the midshipman. During the knot tying test in buds, is there no hand tread in between tying the knots? No. I mean, they don't ask you to do that. I mean, you are at the top and you're treading, you have your rope in your hand, but you don't have to tread like this in between sets. At least, unless they changed it, which they could have made it a little harder. Let's see. Stu, what's your average CSS time for individuals you are training? We do a yard per second. So I try to get everybody to the person down to 820. So a 500-yard swim is 500 seconds, which equals an 820. Now, there are people who break that and get well under 8 minutes. But yeah, I also tell them if you're under 8 minutes, don't try to get better. Let's work on something else to get that better. Because usually there's another element out there that you're ignoring if you're getting that much better at swimming. Might be running, might be pull-ups, might be swimming with fins, right? Um, hey, Wetzel family, just email me. I'll send it to you. If you're a midshipman, just email me and I'll send it to you. So here we go. Where was I? Average. Oh yeah, average time. So if you can do a yard per second without fins, that's going to be an 820. That's my kind of minimum standard. Try to get everybody to, but it's well above the minimum standards. At least a minute faster than the minimum standard that they recommend for a 9:30 competitive standard time. But it gives you good gravy time in there in case you have a bad day. Then you put on a pair of fins and you still maintain that same pace. So all you got to do is put on a pair of fins, rocket fins, and swim at that yard per second pace. If you do that, an 820 500 turns into a 1640,000, turns into a 32 33 2000, right? And every week at Buds, you're going to do a 4,000-yard swim or 2 nautical mile swim. So those 32 33s turn into 64 66s minute swims, which still puts you 20 minutes under the minimum standard of 85 minutes in first phase. And if you're somewhere in those 60s, you're in the usually in the top 10% of the class. And that's really where you want to be. It's just, it's fun to be competing with the top 10% of the class, especially if there's an 80 attrition. It's smart to want to be in that top 25% in everything, because it usually will apply to you being able to actually finish Buds and meet all the standards that are needed. I mean, it's pretty fast, but even I can do it. Let's see. I have access to open water mainly during the summer, which is a lake, the ocean. Haven't really tried swimming there yet. What's the adjustment like from swimming lake to ocean? Good question. Most lakes don't have waves unless it's a really big one. So dealing with waves in the ocean is pretty um, eye-opening at first, especially if there's swells or if there's whitecaps, even worse. Swells are easy; you just kind of go over them, but you have to time your looks to where you're going. Make sure you're swimming straight at the top of a swell, so you can actually see the buoy where you're swimming. Otherwise, if you try to do it down here at the trough, you're not going to see anything but a wall of water. So there's some timing issues when it comes to swimming straight when there are swells. And there's some solid swells in the Pacific Ocean. That's for sure. But it's not that much different. You still got to swim straight. Practice every fifth or 10th stroke coming up and looking to make sure you're swimming straight. And you got to swim through the waves just to get out to where they're not crashing or breaking. So that's always a fun challenge if the waves are big. I mean, there have been some days when the waves were so bad it was difficult to get out to where you're supposed to go. Then they usually say, "All right, get the boats," and because they like seeing people crash on the boats. It was actually fun to do that too. So anytime there's big waves and they say grab the boats, look for a good time because it's about to be. And you will laugh every time you get capsized. It was some fun stuff. All right, let's see. 5 a.m. warrior. There's a lot of studs that show up to Buds, but what about the mental edge that's going to help? What about it? What is the mental edge that's going to help? This is it right here, man. Never quit mindset. Boom. I have spent 20 years coaching a never quit mindset subtly, right? And I do it through physical performance in uncomfortable sessions. So, first thing in the morning, like right now, you got 30 minutes of darkness working out, right? So, you got to get there before dawn, and it's starting to get colder. It rained today while we ran 6.5, 7 miles up a hill and down a hill. Some guys did fireman carries up the hill. So there are little ways to test your mental toughness along the way. The first one is just waking up and getting out of a comfortable bed, getting uncomfortable outside in the weather where it is either hot and humid in the summer, where you need to actually adhere to hydration protocols and electrolytes, or you're just going to bonk and feel horrible. And now we're starting to see what winter's going to be like because it is starting to get chilly. However, probably by January, we'll be saying, damn, I wish it was 51 degrees like it was this morning because that's toasty warm. Whenever you're used to starting your workouts at 22 degrees, kind of sucks. And you got to stay moving just to stay warm. So there are a lot of ways to work the mental edge. I've always done it through physical training, uncomfortable physical training, hard challenges as well. Just see how bad you really want it when you're tired. Um, but I never really put it into words, never really talked about it. We just did it and it worked. And this is my first attempt at writing about it. Doubting yourself and how do you get over it? Failing and how do you move on and learn from it? I mean, those are just two of the chapters out of 10 that are in there. Dealing with stress, that's another very important chapter. Whether that is stress physically, emotionally, mentally, you name it, stress is stress, and you got to learn how to deal with it, and that will make you more resilient as well. All right. Let's see what else we got. Good question though. A lot of studs show up at buds. Mental edge is very important. I recommend it if you are already a 5 a.m. warrior, which is cool. Me too. Um, you'll be surprised at how much of a mental edge you have over people that are not, because every single day you wake up before 5. I'm sure. Maybe you wake up at 5. Maybe you get started at 4:30 to start training at 5. I don't know. But regardless, you got to wake up early and it never fails. I am never more comfortable in my life than I am at that moment when my alarm goes off. And I'm like, man, I was sound asleep. This thing just woke me up. I am so comfortable right now. Don't want to get out from under my covers. But you know what? You do anyway. And you get a little tougher, one scoop at a time, by getting up and getting things started. Then you go outside, weather sucks, you go get it done anyway. Just because it's raining doesn't mean you can't go out there and run. Guess what? If you're doing any of these jobs, probably the best time to do some of these jobs is in the middle of a rain and dark at night because no one else wants to be outside. If you're the only one outside, you have an advantage to them already. So guess what? It's part of stealth and concealment. So get used to it. There you go. One scoop at a time, man. I'm telling you. All right. Let's take some more questions here. Rocky Top says, "Good morning. I saw a recent story about a 58-year-old who recently joined a football team. I've heard about that. Was a dream of mine. Was a dream of his. He's strong as an ox too. I immediately thought of the never quit mindset. That is a never quit mindset personified for sure. Sounds fun, man. If he plays defensive back, that's impressive. I mean, I could understand maybe a big slow lineman, but that's you got to get up and move at 58. Even if you're playing special teams, that's something. That's cool. Hopefully he does well. Neat. All right. Yeah, the bed is a hard mental fight every day. I tell people that all the time, man. It is. So what I do is I put my phone on the other side of the room about an hour before bed, just let it charge over there and um, keep my alarm on. So I try to race my alarm off before I get that thought in my head of like, it's so feels so good in here. Just stay in here a little bit longer, hit snooze, come back in. Right before I get that thought, I try to get over there and turn off that alarm. Yeah. My wife appreciates me not having, because I get the Sandman song by Metallica waking me up in the morning. It will wake you up in the morning, by the way. Enter Sandman, Metallica, classic. All right, looks like I've answered all the questions. You guys have anything else? Yeah, Wetzel family, just contact me and I'll let you check out that program I made for the mids, and then share it. I'm not selling it. I'm just giving it to the mids to prepare for the PST and the HPT combine. And there's a lot of pool skills in there that you got to practice as well, because they're going to probably start doing the water confidence with all you guys in April before you head out there in May. And I'll probably be involved with that as well. Let's see. Yeah, looks like I got it all. So tomorrow I will be back here, same time, chat a little bit about probably the article I wrote today, and show some CSS videos. If you want to see something, if you want me to critique your CSS video, just send it to me. Happy to critique it, no charge. Just send it to me. You can either DM me over on Instagram or send it to me by email, stu@stewsmith.com. But you guys go check out stewsmithfitness.com. And if I missed your email, just email me, stu@stewsmith.com. Yep. Tons of articles over there, programs, you name it. And, I'm here to help. So if you got questions, just send them. Looks like I've answered all of them over on YouTube and Instagram. So I'm going to call it. All right, guys. I got stuff to do. You guys have a good one. Hope you guys got a good Monday, and we'll come back a little bit stronger on Tuesday. You guys have a good one. See ya.